Well, thank you, Gary Beatty, and hi, everybody. On this show, we have two guests. One is a giant in country music, having been a star for 6 decades. He's been in the Country Music Hall of Fame since 1992. In 2002, he received the nation's highest recognition of artistic excellence when he was presented the National Medal of Arts by the President, George Bush, at a White House ceremony. Our other guest is his daughter, a wonderful singer with great genes. Her mother was Tammy Wynette. Her father is George Jones. Now I want to welcome George Jones and his daughter, Georgette. George, hello. I can't believe you're here.
Well, Ralph, I show up now. Nowadays, I show up.
And Georgette, you're just beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm happy to be here.
Nice to have you on the show.
Well, we're thrilled to be here.
I got to know Georgette through my youngest son. Does this bring about a memory for you?
I'm afraid it does. I went to school at FRA when I was in 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and a little bit of 5th grade before we moved to Hendersonville.
This is your picture from the annual.
Oh, my. Some chubby cheeks then, didn't it?
And my son, Kit, was in the class with you.
He was.
And so I've got 3 or 4 of those from all those grades. Anyway, it's just a nice thing that we share. And then you moved away from FRA, didn't you?
I did. We moved to Hendersonville, and I went to school there for the rest of 5th and 6th grade, and eventually moved to Florida then until I graduated. Actually, I was born in Lakeland, but we moved to Jupiter, Florida when I started 8th grade.
That's right.
But by the way, I don't know if you remember, your other son was our dentist.
Well, yes, that's Steve.
Yes.
Well, he'll appreciate that plug.
And he was great.
Steve is over in Rivergate.
Oh, okay.
You're a nurse, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And where do you practice?
I live in a town called Alexander City, which is about an hour south of Birmingham. And I work occasionally at the hospital there, but I work full-time Monday through Friday at the local doctor's office. Dr. James is his name.
What kind of a doctor is he?
He's a primary care physician. He does a little bit of everything.
Okay. Where'd you go to nursing school?
Southern Union in Valley, Alabama.
Well, you handle yourself very well. You seem like you've done this before.
Maybe once or twice.
George, how many children do you have?
Well, I've got 4 of my own, and then I've got some adopted daughters and boys. Mostly grandchildren now. I get them all confused. But Michael and for my daughter Susan, will have a boy and a girl, granddaughter and grandson, and they live right out there with us, you know, beside of us. And we just see each other every day, you know.
So how many grandchildren do you think you have, George?
Oh, probably.
Too many to count, isn't it?
I think we've got probably a dozen at least.
I want you to tell me a story about a guitar. I read this in the paper last summer. You had lost a guitar. It had been stolen from you at Panther Hall in Fort Worth, Texas.
Right.
Tell me that story.
Well, I remember Panther Hall very well in my memory and my mind, and we were playing there that night. And of course, we do, you know, back in those days, you did 2 or 3 sets a night, and you'd take a couple of intermissions. And there was a steel guitar stolen also at the same night from my steel guitar player.
Now, we're talking about 46 years ago.
Yeah, this was about, 46 years ago. And that would be probably somewhere in the 60s, I guess, low 60s.
And how did you get the guitar back after all these years?
Well, I'm not quite sure, because my wife said someone called. And if I'm not mistaken, Bill Mack and my wife talked.
Okay.
And I'm hoping I'm getting this right because I really didn't know anything about it until Nancy told me about it. And I said, oh, yes, I remember very well, you know.
It was a Martin guitar.
Yeah, a little D18. That was, boy, that was my first, actual first Martin guitar. And it was something to own a Martin back in those days. You know, just getting started, you know.
I think Tom Perriman, who's playing.
Tom Perriman, yes, sir.
I think somebody called Tom.
You're right.
And he got in touch with Nancy, and they got the guitar back to you, didn't they?
Right, they sure did. They presented it to me the last time I was down there and at a show.
I think we ought to mention Larry Berry because he was the guy that found it.
Sure was. And the people, it was a couple of boys, I think, you know, that picked them up and mostly wanted them for souvenirs and stuff like that. They kept them quite a while, and then I believe the man that, Barry, that gave me the guitar was the one that gave him $10. They was wanting some beer money or something, and he gave them $10, and they gave him the guitar, and there never was anything mentioned about the steel, but
I'm glad you got it back.
oh, I was really thrilled. I was really thrilled. It was the first honest Martin guitar I'd ever owned, and it had my. I've been playing another brand, you know, for a long time, but that was my first one, and we got it back, and that's really something.
Is that baby Martin?
I got a baby Martin. They used to sell them, you know, in the stores way back in the early 60s.
Marty Robbins had one.
Who? Yeah.
Marty had one.
I had 2 or 3 of them at one time, and of course you leave them laying around and everybody partying and this and that and the other. You know, back in those days, well, you never know what happened to them, but they quit making them unless you order one special.
George, I want to ask you about a song, and I'm going to play a song here on the show. The song is called Blues Man, and it's a duet with you and Dolly Parton. And it came out of an album that you did about songs that you had rejected. George Jones' hits I missed and one I didn't. And the one you didn't miss was He Stopped Loving Her Today.
Yeah.
But I thought this was a brilliant video, and it's your life story written by Hank Williams Jr.
Right, and I love the song so much. Of course, it got a lot of play with Hank and somebody else, I think.
Alan Jackson.
But yeah, right, Alan Jackson, and I love the song so much. I knew it wasn't no. I wanted to cut it and put it on an album, and I knew it wasn't any sense trying for it to be a single. Of course, you know, after it done been out by Alan Jackson and Jr. So we did a video on it, and I thought I wanted to do it as a duet because I could hear it as a duet with the girl, the lady coming back, you know, and.
Yeah, she's sort of the Dolly Parton is playing Nancy in the video.
Yeah.
Nancy, who saved your life.
Yeah.
She sure did.
All right, let's go to the Blues Man and check him out.
That girl could do any type of song in the world.
Well, George, she gave you a lot to sing with there, a lot to work with.
That girl's a mess when she wants to be.
First time I ever met Dolly, I had her on my morning show at Channel 4, and she sang "You Gotta Be My Baby," one of your old songs, and she, right out of high school, and she was just dynamite. Georgette, I want to ask you about your MySpace site,
Okay.
I understand that you wanted to promote that tonight. So if we go to your MySpace site, what will we find there?
Well, there's a lot of pictures and videos of me, but also pictures and videos of me and my mom and dad together. There's music of mine plus the duet with me and my dad on there that people can listen to. And then you can email. I try to answer everybody's emails. So it's just a nice thing and kind of connect to everybody and kind of see what they're thinking and want to
Okay,
know
now
about.
this, if you'll put that back on the screen, there it is, myspace.com, Georgette Jones.
That's it?
And the new song,
Yes.
is that on there?
It is You and Me in Time. You can listen to it there.
Okay. We're going to play that in a little bit here on this program.
Okay.
George, did it ever hurt your feelings when they started calling you No-Show Jones?
No. It was hard to live down. It still is, but it's not as bad as it used to be. I think was the reason that it didn't make me mad. It was because I knew I was guilty and of the charges, but that's what moved us to write a song about it. You know, No-Show Jones.
Yeah. What's on your license plate, George?
No show. Oh, well, we had so much fizz, all about it all the time. I just said, well, I'm gonna have some fun with it, and I'll never be able to live it down, so I'm just gonna have a little fun with it.
Can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, and so we put out the song, No-Show Jones, and Merle and I did it together on that first album 25 years ago.
Merle who?
Haggard.
Oh, that Merle.
Yeah, that Merle. Not Kilgore.
You know what's interesting? I asked Merle one time who his favorite singer was, and he said George Jones.
Well, he's my favorite.
And
too.
I asked you, and you said Merle Haggard.
Well, Hank Williams has always been the top daddy, but Merle is, I've always loved his stuff so much.
We're going to take a break. We're visiting with Georgette Jones and George Jones, the old possum. We'll be right back. Tonight we have the pleasure of the company of George Jones and his beautiful daughter Georgette Jones, and we have a picture. My favorite picture of you, George, as a young man is this picture. You and your guitar. What kind of guitar is that?
That was, I believe that was my Gene Autry guitar.
Is that your first guitar?
I think it was, yeah.
How old are you here?
I was about, I would say 10, 11.
And so what are you doing? You're in Beaumont, Texas. You're downtown. What are you doing?
Well, I love the guitar so much that I was walking on the street there, and anybody wanted to listen, I'd stop and play them one, in a minute,
Okay.
And but anyhow, the man on the street, they called him back in those days. Photographers, cameras wasn't all that popular with people carrying them like they are today, and they took your picture and then had you come back, in 3 or 4 days to this particular place, or drugstore or whatever, and see the proofs, and you could buy some copies, So that's actually where that picture came from that day.
From a roving man on the street.
Yeah.
There was one day you made $25.
It sure did, right behind where I was walking. Back down behind me there, about a block, was a little penny arcade, they called it. And they had a shoe shine stand up in front. And I'd go by there on, this was a Sunday morning, after church was letting out, and I was there a little bit before church was let out, and the people come walking by there, and I'm playing my guitar, singing Roy Acuff songs and what have you, and some people would stop and listen a minute, you know, and they started throwing quarters and nickels and dimes and pennies, and pretty soon I had a pretty good little crowd there, 10 or 12 people, and when I counted it all up later on, I had $24 and something. More money I ever seen in my life. Oh boy, I had a ball playing the pinball machine.
That's a nice memory. This show is full of memories tonight. Georgette Jones is here, and you've written a song. You and some of your friends have written a song about your relationship with your daddy. Tell me about it.
Well, I guess, you know, for a long time we didn't get to have a lot of time together and didn't get to have a really close relationship like we really wanted, and I was really happy when that time came, and we did start doing that. Especially, I know, right after Mama passed away, I think I needed him more than I've ever needed him before, and he was there for me, and he did everything he could to make sure that I knew that he loved me, and it meant the world to me that he was there for me then, and we started really kind of bridging the gap then and spending more time
when
together.
When your mother and father divorced, I suppose the relationship fell apart.
Well, so did the time with Georgette and the other kids. You know, I stayed in bad shape all the time, and I wasn't fit to have children around me. You know, especially under the circumstances of Tammy's. So we didn't get to see each other or communicate for quite a few short years, and it's just great that we got a chance to get back together. And
you know, I always knew that. I mean, he always made it clear that he loved me. I always knew my daddy loved me. It wasn't anything like that. We just didn't get to spend the time together, and so it was really good when we were finally able to do that.
Okay, I want to sell the merchandise here. This is cut number 1 in a new album by George. It's an album of duets called Burn Your Playhouse Down, and the song is called You and Me and Time. And I'm really proud of our staff here because we tried to figure out how we could share this song with them. And so what we did, we took all these pictures we found of you and your daddy and put them together, and we'd like to share now with all you folks the first verse and the chorus, You and Me in Time. That's our little video.
That was great. They did a good job putting those pictures together.
And particularly Patricia and Andy here.
Well, thank you for that. I enjoyed that.
Now I'd like for you to read the way I think it's the last verse.
Okay.
The way it turns out.
Okay. We can't light the candles on the birthdays that we missed, but we can hold each other and thank the Lord for this. Daddy, you and me in time finally got together. I'm sorry that it took so long, but better late than never. The love we thought we'd lost was not that hard to find. It only took the 3 of us, you and me in time.
I love you, darling.
I love you too.
You know, if I were a disc jockey, I'd be playing the heck out of this.
Well, thank you.
And
I
Bill
wish
Mack
you were
played it
still.
today, I know, because I talked to him about it.
We've had a few ads. It's been looking real good, and I think the album came in, I think, about 14.
The album is it's an album of songs that fell through the cracks, songs you recorded over the years.
Right.
And it's amazing. There's a Tammy Wynette duet in here that got overlooked somehow, called "Lovin' You, Lovin' Me."
Yeah.
Marty Stewart is in here, Mark Chestnut, Vince Gill. It's funny, Vince Gill is trying to sound like you on this.
It's a beautiful song, and oh boy, I tell you what, he sung the fire out of it.
Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
And I found that strange, George. I know what you used to think of rock and roll.
Well, let me say this, he definitely didn't make a rock and roll song out of it.
No, that's the title song.
He
Burn Your
did better
Playhouse.
than I ever thought he could do. You know, I mean, singing country.
Yeah.
And he really come off
You
good
didn't think
with
he could do it, did you?
No, I didn't. I would have never thought he could have done it.
I think that song's really probably the countryest sounding song on
Yeah,
it.
that's my
It's a good
favorite
song.
thing on there.
We're talking with Georgette and George Jones, and I'm having a lot of fun. We're gonna take a break, and then you can call and be a part of the show at 1-866-547-9696. I'll read some emails, and we'll take your calls. Be right back. Okay, this is where you folks out there get into the act. And on the phones, we have Dee Dee from Virginia. Hello, Dee Dee.
Hey, Ralph. How you doing, sweetie?
Terrific. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to tell George and Georgette that is a beautiful song. Georgette, you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
You look a little bit like your mama. And George, I want to tell you something. I've been a fan for yours for years. I sent you cards when you was in the hospital, and I thank you and Merle Haggard. If I could be on a deserted island, it'd be you and Merle Haggard, because y'all the finest singers and writers in the world.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that.
And I'm glad you're doing so well. And Georgette, good luck to you. And Ralph, you've always been a doll baby, so I love all of y'all.
Thank you, Dee Dee.
appreciate it.
I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Email Charlie in Seguin, Texas. He wonders if you remember a bar in Houston, Texas, where they wrote on the mirror behind the bar in lipstick, "Why, baby, why?" And the bartender had a patch over his eye. That's 1955 or 56.
Well, that's a long time ago to remember something like that, especially in a bar.
Anyway, that's Charlie Stegall from Seguin, Texas. Let's go back to the telephone to Garrett from Alabama. Garrett, is that your first name?
It is.
And what's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to tell George, I opened for him a couple of years ago. He came to Columbus, Georgia, and I'm legally blind, and I opened for you at the River Center and got to meet you.
And I judged the contest where he won.
And Georgette, you judged the West Georgia Star contest that I was in with
Sure did.
Chip Smolman.
He was wonderful. Sang a Josh Turner song. Did a great job on it.
Right. Long Black Train, I believe it was.
Sure was.
Well,
And I wanted to tell George I loved his music for a long time. As long as I can remember, I've always been a big fan, and I can't wait to get the new album.
well, all right, Garrett. Thank you very much.
And Ralph, I wanted to tell you, I hope to meet you one of these days.
Well, I hope that'll be possible. I'm going to have to move on, Garrett.
Thank you, Garrett.
I'll move
Garrett.
through this segment as quickly as I can to get as many people on as I can. Jerry and Dolores, Macomb, Mississippi. George, they want to know, they've been to your shows, and they play a recording of the national anthem by George Jones. And they wonder why you don't sing it in person.
In person?
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't know. I never thought about it.
But I didn't know you had recorded the national anthem.
Well, we went in and recorded it with Tony Brown, I think it was. He was on the piano.
Is this for your stage show?
No. My wife started making a CD of it because a lot of people started asking for it. And she made up some CDs on it, and the boys were selling them, in concession. And That's the first request, though, that had to do on stage.
They wondered why you played the record, why you didn't come out and do it live.
Well, they was waiting for the grand entrance, I guess.
Let's go to Patty up in the Bluegrass State of Kentucky. Hi, Patty.
Hi.
And
I'd like to say last week I went to a wonderful concert with Georgette at Catlettsburg, Kentucky. And
thank you.
it was free. I'd lived in California many years, and I was one of those people that bought tickets, and George didn't show up, but then I moved back here to Kentucky, and I saw these great shows in Catlettsburg.
Well, thank you, hon. I appreciate it.
did you call to get your money back?
No, I got my money's worth at the show.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Bless your heart.
Gene Watson was there, Jeannie Fricky, and the whole town turns out. And it's just a small town, but it was a wonderful concert, and you all looked great. The songs were just wonderful. But
Great
you got on
job.
stage late, George. 10 o'clock is kind of late for country folk.
She said it's
Okay,
so late.
I have to go.
Okay.
You got to tell him. You got to complain.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Who? Alvarado, Texas. Linda Prescott. Oh, no. She said, I would allow George Jones is, let me see this. Please tell him that he's the only man I would allow to put his boots under my bed besides my husband, Wayne.
Woo! That's getting a little strong, but I'll tell you what.
That's Linda Prescott.
She's among the great fans.
Okay, let's go back to the telephone to Glenn, way out in California. Hi, Glenn.
Hello, Ralph. How you doing?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, I just called. I'm a real good friend with Sonny Langley, and Sonny's one of Merle Haggard's best friends or buddies. They talk on the phone every day and talk to each other. And Sonny called me up today and said, make sure you see George. And he asked me, he said, I wonder if George remembered me when I was up at Merle's house, and Merle had got his house remodeled, and Sonny and George were singing on Merle's bed, and Merle come in there, almost started crying, saying, there's two of my best friends breaking in my bedroom.
Okay.
Do you remember that, George?
You know, I really can't offhand, but excuse me. I really can't offhand, but it'll come to me, I'm sure.
Well, you asked Sonny that night when you were playing up in Reading if you'd come and sing on the show, and asked Merle, and Merle was pooped out, and Sonny said, I'm going back to Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he did. All right, Glenn, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Who we got here? Jerry Crabtree, Huntington, West Virginia. Have you played the guitar since you broke your wrist? When did you break your wrist?
You know, that was just before I went on a New England tour up in the New England states, and I had broke my arm about 3 or 4 days before the tour started, and it was about 10 or 12 days we were on, and the boys, I had to sing, you know, without strumming my guitar because it was my right wrist. And the boys wanted me to quit playing altogether and not start back. They said I was the worst rhythm player they'd ever had. And now that we was doing so good without the guitar, no, really, I had a low back problem, and I found out that holding the guitar all them years I've been holding one might have been the reason for it in my later years now. So I've gave it up because my back has been a lot better.
You gave it up because your musicians didn't want to play with
Well,
you.
really, if you want to know the truth.
Let's go to Raymond. He's here in Tennessee. Where are you, Raymond?
I'm right here, Ralph.
Well, I know. Which town?
I'm in Madison, actually.
Oh, what's your question?
I wanted to just say how much I idolized George Jones. Man, he's been somebody that I've wished I could meet my whole entire life.
And the song that he just did with Georgette there, I'm definitely going to get that. I think that is absolutely beautiful. Wanted to ask George a quick question. I'm originally from Wheeling, West Virginia, and he did some venues up there on an outdoor event. I wonder if you recall those times.
Did you ever sing on the Wheeling Jamboree, George?
Yes, sir. Yeah, quite a few times. In fact, we usually work it about once, well, we used to work it once a year, and I think now we work it like once every 2 years.
Okay, I've run out of time here.
Thank you, Raymond.
I appreciate your call. Next week, our guest will be Tracy Lawrence. He's an interesting man. He got shot back in the early 90s by some muggers. He saved a woman's life, and he's going to tell that story. He survived. And he's also had about a dozen #1 country records. I'm with George Jones and Georgette Jones, and we will continue right after this. Georgette Jones and George Jones are here, and Georgette, excuse me, when I first met your mama, she was singing Apartment Number 9, her first record, and she came up to my all-night record program with that song, and Tex Ritter and I were disc jockeys together, and Tex scared the heck out of Tammy. Anyway, Apartment Number 9 became a big hit for her, and we're going to remember your mama with this presentation of that song. Larry Black loaned me this, and I thought folks would like to see it.
I keep waiting in this lonely room, just in case you change your mind. You'll find me waiting here in apartment number 9. Loneliness surrounds me without your arms around me, and the sun will never shine in apartment number 9. No, the sun will never shine in apartment number 9.
Oh, Lord,
You had a lot
that
of
was
help from Jan Howard there, didn't you?
Jan Howard was a really good friend of Mom's, and she was sweet to help me out with that because she knew I was terrified. I'd never done anything like that before at that point, about 9 years ago, and I'd never sang
That room was
Mom's
full of
music.
a lot of country singers.
It was. I'll pull a bit of pressure on you in a hot pot.
George, happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Ralph.
It's in a few days, isn't it?
I forgot all about it. It's coming up pretty soon, I think Friday.
I want to show a picture of a special lady. But yeah, this lady right here. This is Mrs. George Jones, Nancy. And that's the lady who saved your life.
Yes, between her and the good Lord, I'll tell you, she stuck with me through the real bad times, and I don't know, it's amazing how much some women will put up with. But I was one of the tougher ones to put up with.
Where'd you meet her?
I met her like on a blind date type of thing. She flew with her friend, beauty parlor friend, fixed hair, you know.
Right.
And she talked her into flying up to New York, and we were playing there that night. And the other girl was invited by the manager, so-called manager that I had at that time, and so she got Nancy to fly up with her. And I met her that night in New York, and I just knew right away that there was something
The love at first sight?
wonderful about her. Well, it wasn't necessarily love at first sight as much as it was how much I needed caring for, and she showed all these qualities and showed caring right off the bat. And I don't know, it just grew in a
How long
very
have you
short-
been married now, George?
Huh?
How long have you been married?
26 years. I better have that right.
Is that right, Nancy? Nancy's shaking her head yes.
Oh, goody.
Good job.
Georgette, tell me about your family, your boys.
I have twin boys, Kyle and Ryan, and they will be 15 in October. I'm kind of nervous about it because we have to start driving. So.
Oh yeah, you're a year out.
Yes, we may need to go buy some helmets, I think, before long.
Then you live in Alexandria City?
Right, Alexander City. It's about an hour southeast of Birmingham, kind of in between Birmingham and Auburn.
Okay.
And they come to see me often, too.
Oh, they love Grandma and Grandpa. There's nobody like Grandma and
What
Grandpa.
do they call you, George, your grandchildren?
It's Grandpa, you know.
Or Pawpaw?
Well, most of them here call me Pawpaw, and
Okay.
the boys call me Grandpa.
George, when you were, we've shared experiences, the same kinds of experiences. You were a disc jockey at one time.
Tried to be.
Yeah. Do you remember how you used to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I said, this is George P. Williker Picklepuss Jones. And we're coming to you here for about an hour in the evening. And I don't know, we ran a contest one time, Ralph. I was going to give them the first three closer ones that guessed my age. I was going to send them an autographed picture. Well, we got all kind of mail in that following week. Dear Picklepuss, Dear P. Williker, and I'd add on sometimes Vinegar Face for short. And that Vinegar Face, I'd get some few with that. And nobody, I was only about 22, I think. I was just out of the Marine Corps. And I think the closest one guessed my age was 51.
Oh, they all guessed you to be an older man.
Yeah, because I had a real horsey voice.
George,
I've always had a horsey sounding voice.
George, you got to meet Hank Williams once, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You were on a show with a man and his wife.
Eddie and Pearl, and I played lead guitar for Eddie and Pearl. Eddie played the guitar with the French harp on the rack, and his wife Pearl, she played the big bull bass, and I played a little lead guitar. And I was gonna, Hank came by the radio station. I'll never forget that. Neville Powell was a program director, and he was friends with Hank, and he got him to come by and do one song to plug his show that night. On the
What did you do, George?
On the 405 radio show we had.
What
in the
did you
evening.
do?
Well, I stood across from him. That's back when the mic came out of the ceiling, and it was no stand in front of it, just the mic from the ceiling. And I stood there across from him, and naturally he just took off dry, you know, Wedding Bells. That was his latest release that was out at that time, Wedding Bells.
You froze, didn't you?
I froze. I've never hit the first note. I stood there and just stared, and I don't know what he could have thought. He was trying not to look at me, I guess.
George, I want to talk about one song, Golden Rings, that you did with Tammy. You got this song from Buddy Killen, didn't you?
Yeah, we were doing a session, and we were 2 days, and we were running all over the place trying to find songs. And this was the last day, and we had about 30 minutes before the studio was going to start the session, and we ran over to Tree Music, and Buddy Cullen played us. He went up. He played us a lot of stuff, but it wasn't there, you know. I said, I know you got one hid somewhere. And we sit there and talk a little more, and he said, you know, I do have one upstairs. Let me check on that. So he went up and got it and brought it down, and it was Golden Rings.
And you said, I'll do that one.
I said, we'll do it today.
Georgette, I want to tell you I appreciate your coming by and being our guest on this program tonight.
Thank you. I really enjoyed being here. I don't get to see you that much anymore, and you make sure you tell your sons that I said hey.
I sure will. And good luck to you and this song. I hope it becomes a big hit for you.
I hope so. It's a special
And
one.
for you too, George.
I just hope it'll get her, help get her a chance, you know, to get on a label where she can really show her talent. Because she does have a lot of talent, and she got most of it from her mother.
Well, George, you've had a lot of,
I was gonna say, you don't give yourself enough credit.
You've had a pretty good career.
I'd say so.
Well, it wasn't bad. I just tried to mess it all up, but no, I've been very fortunate to
George,
even be still here, you know, and
I have to
so
get
I'm
off the
real
air.
happy.
I want to thank you for coming and for
Thank
being my
you,
friend all these years. Georgette, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Next week, Tracy Lawrence will be here, my friends. Thank
Bye,
you for
buddy.
watching. Good night, everybody.
In a pawn shop in Chicago on a sunny summer day, a couple gazes at the wedding rings there on display.
She smiles and nods her head as he says, honey, that's for you. It's not much, but it's the best that I can do.
Golden rings with one tiny little stone waiting there for someone to take it home by itself. It's just a cold maternity thing.